Guys, what's up? It's Darkmech here, and welcome back to another episode of Talk Legion to Me. Today we're going to be rambling on about 7.1.5, the PTR forums, and we're going to talk about the legendaries and legendary changes that we'll see coming in when 7.1.5 hits. So, 7.1.5 is in the background downloader at the moment, despite all the negative feedback and pages on the PTR forums begging Blizzard to reconsider some of the changes, to look at some of the changes further, or to push this out. There's been really no response, and it is in the background downloader now. So this appears to be the go live version, and all we'll kind of see is number changes from now, it appears. So before we start, Legendaries has always been a really big topic, obviously, since their introduction in Legion. Their drop chances, how that's all factored and things like that. And we've never received a lot of info from Blizzard, so I'm slightly going off topic in some ways here. But I think this is really cool, and if you don't sort of troll the MMO Champ forums, you may not have seen this and you may find it interesting. So a user on MMO Champ by the name of Impending Doom posted up a large sample-sized estimated data scheme, I suppose, on how the legendary drops function. So he collected 10,000 players from an EU server. He collected the data from the 5th of October to the 15th of December. There was about 300,000 files worth in that, from raiding, mythic pluses, so on and so on. And he's put it all into data format, and he assigned kill points to each sort of level of difficulty. So mythic mythic pluses, mythic raid bosses, LFR bosses. Everything was designed to kill point, and he kind of broke it down into how many kill points it would take from your first legendary to your second, to your third, to your fourth, and so on. So Doom's data pretty much proved what we generally thought all along. Anyway, the harder the content you're doing and the more content you're doing at that level, the higher chance you've got a legendary. So, that was sort of always what we thought. What we had sort of begin to see a lot of discussion about was every time you got a legendary, it would pretty much reset your bad luck protection until you built it up to a high enough chance via those kill points that he's assigned, and we'll just say that for the sake of this, until you built it up to get your second legendary, then it would reset again and you would go to your third, and so on and so on. There was a lot of data missing from the Mythic Plus perspective. Doom said that was a lot harder to track in comparison to the raid data, so there is a bit of a discrepancy in the Mythic Plus data, but again, this is a rough estimate. People pointed out that they were disappointed to see the drop rate for legendaries from Mythic 7 to 10 plus because it was lower than 1 to 4, but I suppose the thing to remember is everyone from carry groups was spamming sort of 1 to 6 at the start to fill out their artifacts, and that's probably why we saw the largest percentage of legendary drops in Mythic Pluses from those ranges, is because that's what everyone was doing. The link for this is in the description, so you can go and have a look at it. You can see on the screen at the moment I've got the graph that graphs out the bad luck protection and the estimate in regards to how that works from legendary 1, 2 to 3. To 4 and so on, and you can also see the kill points I was talking about graphed up on the screen as well. So it is really interesting to go and have a look at, and I know it's impossible to quantify RNG as such. You can't map out RNG, it's of course random, but this is a rough estimation from 10,000 players over that time period of how the legendaries functioned in their drop rates, and it's at least interesting to look at. So back to topic as such, and talking about legendaries in 7.1.5. So there are loads of changes coming to legendaries in patch 7.1.5. And there's a link in the description which will go through all the changes. A lot of the legendaries are being buffed, having their effects bumped up. Some are having their effects decreased. Or smaller nerfs as such. I'm not going to go through all of them, as this video would be about half an hour long and you would literally just be watching me reading a screen that you're looking at as well. So I'll let you do that in your own time, where you can go and look at the class that interests you and what is changing for that. The main one I'm going to mention, because there's the most talk about it on the PTR forums, is Zephyr's Secret. Now, Zephyr's Secret has kind of long been the butting joke of the legendary world, along with the neck. Zephyr's Secret is being changed in patch 7.1.5. So Zephyr's Secret now successfully applying a loss of control effect or interrupting or dispelling, which is the new one, to any target will grant you 70% increased movement speed and 25% haste. So it's been bumped up from a haste perspective for 10 seconds. This effect may occur once only every 30 seconds. So it's been bumped up, but is it going to be enough? Edit. Now, Blizzard, when it comes to Zephyr's Secret, said on the forums, and this was on one particular Zephyr's Secret hate thread on the PTR forums, the intent is not for Zephyr's Secret to be 100% useful in all situations. If it was, as many of you in this thread have pointed out, there's several straightforward and easy ways to accomplish that. However, with that design, it's important that where it's good, it's really good. And the 7.1 version wasn't quite there, which is why we made the 7.1.5 changes to increase its effectiveness when you can activate it. God, I can't speak. Sorry, guys. We also added a couple of more ways for it to activate interrupts and dispels to allow more specs some better methods of activating it. The only issue for this is, in a rating sense, a lot of people are still not going to get the full effect of this legendary, especially if there's an interrupt and you're all competing for an interrupt to activate your Zephyr's Secret, for example. Even if we went more into class-specific senses, a rogue has a hell of a lot more ways to activate Zephyr's Secret than a mage or a warlock does. So, you know, in that general class balance sense that Blizzard go on about, you know, that's a really unbalanced method with this legendary. This legendary has a lot more value in Mythic Pluses, certainly. But again, in comparison to a DPS specific class legendary, let's take the belt on a Blood DK, for example, it fucking just doesn't compare. Even when it is active, it's still not really fucking strong in comparison. Now, don't get me wrong, I love that there's legendaries in the game, I really do, but I think my love of it, and say your love of it, is very dependent on the luck you've had. So, for me, I've got the belt on my DK and I've got the braces on my warrior, and then I copped double Agrimar's stride, so I wasn't too pissy about it. Some people got their 2 best in slots straight off the bat, and they are loving this fucking system. Other people got the neck, which I know is a really underrated survival item, but, you know, in comparison, you know, some people cop the neck and then Zephyr's Secret straight off the bat, and then they're off masturbating in the corner with fucking sandpaper because life can't get any worse. So there shouldn't be that much of a gap. There needs to be some kind of a fix that brings them closer in together and makes you feel like you've got a legendary. You're happy to see that orange, not, oh my fucking god. I watched a video the other week of a dude unboxing like 176 emissary boxes and got 3 fucking necks across his toon. Like, I would fucking kill myself. That is really fucking rough, and I know it's underrated before everyone goes, oh, the neck's underrated. It fucking is, but it's still fucking rubbish when you are trying to maximize your character and your I fucking can't speak. Your contribution to your raid or your Mythic Plus group. I was going over forums and Reddits, which kind of led me to make this video, as there's so much sort of buzz going on about it at the moment. And I saw all kinds of posts from people that have turned to leveling alts. So someone got a shit legendary, someone got 2 shit legendaries. They just scrapped that character altogether and made an alt with the hopes of getting a better legendary to continue on with that one. It's not exactly empowering game design. Other people face the issue of maybe getting 2 or 3 shit legendaries in their one spec and then not being able to change specs due to the time it takes to get the 4th. I read a Q&A on Reddit with Sko and Roger Brown from Method, and they spoke about, and this is the #1 guild in the world, so it's, you know, it's slightly more hardcore and intense, but they have to maintain 5 alts at max at all times for split farm rating. They were talking about if people got best in slot legendaries on their alts, that they would just flat out switch to them and carry on with that one. Now, I know that's an option for the #1 guild in the world, but who in the fuck wants to do that, and how is that, again, engaging gameplay? Now, I'm usually really pro Blizzard, and don't get me wrong, I'm having a great time in Legion because I've benefited well from legendaries. However, I completely get the other side of the coin. Jai, who I play with and you would have seen in a number of videos, runs a lot of box tunes. So he's got 47 level 110s at the moment for the purpose of making 1,000,000 sky golems to make 1,000,000,000 gazillion gold. He's got an account full of druids. The moment he gets a best in slot Boomy Druid legendary, he'll switch to that Boomy, will Mythic Plus train him for loot, and he'll carry on his way on that character. Again, is this really a design that we want to push forward, or that we think is sort of acceptable? I had originally thought, and there's been lots of discussion about this, this isn't my original thought, that it would be great to see a legendary vendor in game. So you don't like the legendary you got, you can trade it in. There's 100,000 gold price, 200,000 gold, whatever you want to put on it, where you can trade your legendary in, pay the fee, and get the one you want. Even if it was a 2-for-1 swap. Even if it was, you got 2 shit legendaries, you want to swap it in for a class-specific one, you can. That would have been a great option, I think, in regards to getting people more on board with the legendary system and making them feel competitive with others that have those legendaries. And it's just more engaging gameplay when you have one of those class-specific legendaries. It makes your character feel powerful as such. Now, onto the other side, because it's not all bad news, and as I said, there's a number of good changes happening to already in-game legendaries. There are a whole bunch of new ones being added in 7.1.5, and again, the link's in the description where you can go and have a look at all the new ones being added for your class, and I'm not going to talk about all the new ones. What I am going to talk about is the new 3 shared legendaries that we will be seeing. So, there's a tank, DPS, and a healing legendary being added. The tank one is Archimonde's Hatred Reborn. So you gain an absorption shield for 30% of your maximum health for 10 seconds. When the shield is consumed or expires, 75% of the damage absorbed is dealt to nearby enemies split evenly, which sounds really fucking good for Mythic Pluses with large pulls in them. Kill Jaden's Burning Wish. DPS, launch a vortex of destruction that seeks your current enemy. When it reaches the target, it explodes, dealing a critical strike to all enemies within 10 yards for fire damage. And the healing one is Valen's Future Sight. Increases all healing done by 15% and causes 50% of overhealing on players to be redistributed to up to 3 nearby injured allies for 10 seconds. Now, straight off the bat, these 3 shared legendaries that we're getting look really appealing. They look really fucking good. And you kind of wonder if this is Blizzard's way for making up for Cephas, for the boots, for whatever the other fucking belt is, and whatever the neck is. If it's their way of admitting that they were shit legendaries to include as legendaries, and this is the makeup for that. But it kind of makes you wonder why we couldn't have had something like this at the start, which would have avoided a whole lot of fucking crap that we're seeing now, I think. So that's enough about legendaries, guys. You can go over and read the PTR forums where there's a whole bunch of feedback on legendaries and the new legendaries and the legendary changes that you'll be seeing to your current ones. Unfortunately, there are very, very limited replies from Blizzard. There's that one on Cephas Secret, and that is about it. Class redesign. There's a lot of class overhauls happening in 7.1.5 that, again, a lot of people aren't happy with. Now, I should have started off this video by saying, generally speaking, negative people are the loud voices. So if somebody's happy, much like people are with the legendary system, if someone gets their 2 best in slot, they don't really care. They're happy. They're going to continue playing the game. They're not going to say anything. If you got the neck and the ring and you're shitty, you are of course going to say something. So that can be said for a lot of things on the PTR forums as well, where it's generally just angry players. However, and the reason I'm making mention of this is I have never seen so much anger about it, and that's what led me to making this video and being interested in it. There is a lot of class redesign going on in 7.1.5. I'm going to talk really briefly about the Prot Warrior and the Blood DK when I go over specific changes, mainly because that's what I play. I know a lot of you don't play those classes, and that's fine. That's why I'm not going to bore you by talking about them a lot. But the general vibe on the forums is that there have been no communication from Blizzard in regards to players' concerns with these classes. Now, I have read a number of positive things as well in saying that people saying the balance in terms of numbers feels really good now. But people are still talking about their engagement in their class playstyle. So Blizzard, when you listen to the Q&A, seem really convinced that they're doing a good job, that they're heading in the right direction. People on the forums feel like there's a real lack of communication and they're not getting what they want out of their class. So, of course, I'm interested to know how you feel in regards to all of this and everything I've spoken about so far. But is your class being redesigned and how do you feel about that? Let me know. Most people, there's a big push on the forums at the moment. There's a really popular post calling for Blizzard to hold off or extend 7.1.5 by a month and really look and talk to their player base. At the moment, you know, everyone is pretty happy at the moment. There's loads of content to do. There's more than enough content to do. Mythic guilds on an average wise are probably only just finishing Emerald Nightmare now and moving towards Trial of Valor, so we don't need the nerfs that are coming into that. As such, as only 30 or 40 guilds that have actually completed Trial of Valor on Mythic. You know, people are still filling out their artifacts, getting into Mythic Pluses, doing world quests. There's a lot of content to do at the moment, so people would really like it to be pushed out from what I've seen from a feedback perspective and have some of their feedback addressed by CMs in those community forums. Hunters seem really unhappy from a beast mastery perspective. Warlocks seem really unhappy. Feral druids have said they've had no communication. Protection warriors have said they've had no communication. They pretty much have had no communication. Blood DKs are very much the same, and the list probably goes on. These are just the classes that I've looked at. Looking at my two classes and what Blizzard went on about with 7.1.5, Ian said that they wanted to make talent choices feel more meaningful. So they went around and redesigned a number of the talents. From my perspective, on a Blood Death Knight, nothing is really going to change in regards to the talents and playstyles. Blood DKs are fairly safe. They saved Bone Shield by making it function as it's fucking written and as it should be, so they finally fixed that in 7.1.5. Talents wise, they buff bloodworms and things like that, though it's still going to be the same cookie cutter build that we're always taking. The only possible choice I see coming up for the moment, and I have not ran any numbers and I haven't seen any numbers, is Rune Tap versus Foul Bulwark. Rune Tap got increased to 40% damage reduction. Whether or not that's going to be worth taking over the extra HP and the extra 10% of your health that's healed with a Death Strike every time from that extra HP, yada yada, remains to be seen number wise. But still, it does not seem like there's going to be any other talent variations, even with what they've done. From a protection warrior aspect, we've lost some talents, which has left the warrior community fairly upset. We've lost Focus Rage, so now we have no off the GCD ability, which feels weird. Blizzard stated they wanted Revenge to have much more of a place in the rotation. Revenge isn't off the GCD though, and it's now going to cost Rage. It's going to it's really going to lose the flow that goes with playing a Protection Warrior at the moment. You lose the Ultimatum Vengeance synergy that we had for those clutch survival moments with Ignore Pain. And it's going to be really interesting. You know, Thunderclap and Revenge is now going to proc our Shield Slam, which is probably why we've seen a 33% nerf to our shield block uptime from Heavy Repercussions as well, which is going to lead, again, the chase for more haste gear, and the stat squish that's going to come in with the secondary values from a main means you're going to lose a bit of haste, and then you're going to have to chase that up again. So, again, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be bad, and it may very well work out really well, but there's just been no communication about it on the forums, which is, you know, I know it's Christmas time and things like that, but leading up to that, there was still no communication either. So we'll obviously have to wait and see how it's coming out, but I'm just curious as to how everyone is feeling about this from this perspective, because everyone on the forums is really fucking angry about it. So that is pretty much it, guys. I probably rambled on for long enough, but I don't usually make a lot of videos sort of like this. I do try and give news out when I can and it's interesting. But when I was reading the PTR forums, I was just like, holy fucking shit, like this has really intrigued me with all these changes that are going on, and I want to see how you guys are thinking about it and feeling about it. So that is it for me, guys. Thank you very much for checking out the video. Like, comment, subscribe. I do hope to hear from you, and thank you very much for checking out the video. I'll see you all next time, guys. See ya.